Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Peak. I am I am doing my best. Um Notably, I have been thinking a lot about the nature of space-time for all of my TTRPG things. And just a minute ago I tried to like uh, okay, I I have been thinking about like space-time as like a construct way too much recently. Because for TTRPG stuff, you know? So I'm just hanging out like I'm sat here. Okay. The thing that I just did that makes me think of this is I was like, when you are thinking about how you are spreading information, you have to think both spatially and temporally, right? Because when a piece of information is shared, it is shared at the place where you set it, with a range dependent on the method you used to say it. But it also is at a very limited space of time, because when you share it, it's only being shared in that little section of time. When you say something out loud, you can only make an impression on like the immediate surroundings in both space and time. Right? So you've got a little ping coming out from a spot, but like you say the thing once, and it's like, yeah, okay. Like you say your name, and it creates a little disc, and it goes out location wise, as far as your voice can go, and it goes out time wise for like a second. So that makes a disk in space time where that information exists, or that instance of that information. You know? And it centers on you saying a thing. So you've got to make sources that either last longer or travel further. You know? I feel like I'm talking nonsense. Okay. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff happening on the Shadow Realm server right now. And I'm just a little guy. Daily peak. I'm doing the daily peak. Heck. Darn. Shoot. I installed a bunch of colony builders too. Is the thing. Because there was a sale. There was a sale. Okay. We're going to start playing Peak. But until... Jesus fucking Christ. There we go. But before we do that, I need to take my meds, which I will be drinking with a Glacier Burst Lost and Found energy drink. If you guys have meds to take, I recommend you do that as well. Blech. Uh-huh. I know, Pi. I will get to it. Hey, Digi. So I'm out here. I'm chatting on the Shadow Realms Prospectors Discord server, just because there's like stuff going on, and I did just like say the phrase, "Yeah, the canal has been a rolling disaster show its entire existence, and it can't be expanded without making it worse," which really tells you that things are going great with that project. Though I will say the main reason it's going so poorly is because someone else started it, didn't consult us about it, and then just kind of dug it anyway. You say this, but I also have an intense personal emotional attachment to the Aurochs. It's one of those I said a thing offhandedly once where it was like, oh yeah, I kind of relate to the Aurochs because they're difficult to work with, you know, they'll resist every attempt that you make to help them, but they do still need the help. And since I've said that, I have related personally and intensely to the Aurochs in a way that I do not think I can adequately convey, like, verbally. I am going to see if Nico responded to that message again. No, okay. Cool. So, yeah. I'm going through, I'm talking about shit on the Shadow Realm, on the Prospectors Shadow Realms Discord. And saying fun shit like the canal is a rolling disaster show. Or me talking about spatiotemporal effects. The bit of the road that connects us to Valisoy is partially inaccessible to horses? What do you mean? What? What? Okay. God, this is on top of Valley Sway having a history of being weird about trans people, too. Not like overtly transphobic. No, actually, it is kind of just transphobia, but it's not like violent. It is not aggressively transphobic, it is passively transphobic. In the sense that, if your voice doesn't pass, you are not getting pronouned right. And this is just something that we have had to deal with because they are sat right next to us. I don't remember that bit existing a while ago. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that existed last time I went on that. So, as a new addition, I'm guessing some stuff got lost in communication. I remember pretty early on in the project of like road building being like, yeah, no, we should be, doing our best to communicate with anyone that we connect a road to, so that like progress on these projects doesn't come entirely as a surprise to them. And then we weren't the ones that ended up doing the road building projects. So it's like, when it comes to us being connected to Valley Sway by roads, Valley Sway is the ones connecting us, and the communication is almost zilch. This is partially because Prospector leadership has not been online nearly as frequently. This is also because again, Valley Sway is weird about trans people. So even if we were online consistently, we would probably not be super eager to communicate. I have never felt like hate crimed or anything. It's never been bad enough that I've felt the need to like report them. But it is still like a thing. It's like a notable thing. Like, we haven't been called slurs or anything, but our pronouns are not being used. Well, you see, this is because Valley Sway built it. They just connected it to the existing roads that they had. They already had a road going through the middle of their base, so they just extended it out either way. So, like, don't feel too weird about it. They put it there. Like, it ain't our fault it goes through the settlement. In fact, I am nearly certain that they did that mostly to show off. Because if you have to ride through the settlement, then you get the opportunity to look at how pretty all the buildings are. And sorry, with the context of the other things I've said in the last couple minutes, that may sound like I'm criticizing them. Someone thought Echo was the leader of the Prospectors? No! Ekka's a 16-year-old. What? Ekka isn't the leader. Ekka's just online a lot. And also has since been kicked out. For fucking looking me in the eyes and saying that I wasn't doing enough to help a suicidal friend. Like, Jesus. Well, I say that. That wasn't actually the reason. It was the quadruple down. But you know. I'm not gonna get into that. It might have been Remboy, one of the Valley Sway people. We have the weirdest, like, neighborhood rivalry situation going on here, I think. You know, motherfuckers, I'm ahead of the prospectors. Angie face. I say this like the title means anything. It makes me feel confident. Even though I don't have like meaningful administrative abilities. I like it. I like being the leader of the prospectors. It makes me feel good. It feels like an identity I can latch on to. Well, shit. At least I managed to keep my velocity really low there, so I didn't have a meaningful issue. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, no, Prospector General and Foreman Corvia. Prospector General Soul, head of the Prospectors, and Foreman Corvia, fucking leader of Prospectors Peak. Yes, leader of the capital settlement and the guild are two different things. But yeah, no. Yeah. Is it because I just haven't been online for a while? Because I get the confusion of like, oh, your leader hasn't been online for a while. Is there someone else we should be talking to? It's like, no. To be fair, if they legit thought Ekka was the leader, that does say some things about their ideology that makes things make sense. Because I don't think Ekka has ever claimed to be the leader. So they would have had to have assumed, right? And if they were going based off of all the people they've met from our group, Ekka is on the most and probably loudest. So that kind of indicates... Yeah, anyway. It seems like they're the type to think, like, loud equals good. I don't know. I would have to test that. I would have to prod at that psychological assumption a little bit to figure it out. But it is a good data point, definitely. Sorry, I've gone from kind of like teasingly making fun of them to being like, I would like to study them like bugs. Psychology is very interesting to me. I'm head of the prospectors until someone overthrows me. Yeah, you get it, Digi. No, yeah, a big part of the thing is, the prospectors are pretty explicitly like an anarchist, organized group. A group organized along anarchist principles, which sounds like nonsense to people who don't know anything about anarchism. Because I need you to know that anarchism is not a no leaders philosophy, it is a decentralized leadership philosophy. Gotta put them in the terrarium and see what they do with the sticks. Exactly. You get it, Pyrite. I have said, like, oh yeah, I run an anarchist organization, and gotten so many, like, confused looks from people. I need people to understand that anarchist is not chaos, right? Like, do people know that? Like, people who think, you know, centralized power structures are necessary to make things work do say, like, oh yeah, anarchy is equal to chaos, but it just means decentralized in this case. As an anarchist organization, we don't keep a single leader. We do not, like, strictly enforce any, like, specific rules. We have ideological guidelines, basically. And it's like, oh yeah, just, like, don't beef it super hard. If you do, we're all gonna get together and talk about it. But it's one of those, it's like, I don't, people just don't know what anarchism is. And it's like, sometimes it is fun to lean into the chaotic, the image of anarchy. Fucking who? Mesla? I don't know who that is. Media. Yep. I thought you were talking about a philosopher or something. Yeah, no, media portrayal of anarchy will frequently show disorganized, but it won't show, like, you know, community-based. Because people keep trying to apply anarchy to a capitalist idea of how people work, you know? So it's like, yeah, if you make the assumptions about people required for an individualist philosophy to work, then yeah, anarchism doesn't work. You kinda have to approach it with a different idea of how people work. Because I hate to tell you, but individualism is almost entirely motivated by the systems we live under. It's not really how people, you know, act in a vacuum. It'd be like saying fucking, it'd be like pointing at like Jersey Shore and being like, oh yeah, that's how all humans act in a vacuum. Like when you put humans alone in a room together, they do that. It's like, no, you've encountered a very specific depiction of what people do. You've encountered a specific type of person in a kind of media that has been specifically tailored to portray people a certain way. You know? It's like you go to fucking capitalist individual models of human behavior, where it's like everyone is going to take 100% of what they're able all the time. It's like, I'm sorry to say, but generally speaking, people aren't, like, greedy to the point of idiocy. If you make an apple orchard available, only a capitalist would be like, oh man, I gotta take all of these so no one else can have them. You know? As far as I can tell, hoarding as a behavior is a response triggered by other people hoarding, mostly. Like, scarcity triggers the part of your brain that's like, oh, I really need to get all of this up. I need to, you know, keep a store of this. But, like, in our modern day society, where we are past, like, primitive accumulation, um, most of that scarcity is entirely artificial. We have all of the necessary means to, like, feed everyone and everything. You know, we could just do that. It would take effort, but that does kind of feel like the kind of effort that's worth it. You know? I feel like I'm rambling. I've been talking long enough that I kind of forgot the point. I don't know. Anarchy gets a bad rap. Because all of the people in media who attempt to portray it are also people who think you need a centralized leadership structure. Otherwise, humans just kind of kill each other. And very few of the people who are trying to depict anarchy are actually, like, you know, trying to figure out how a human would act in X circumstances. They're starting from their assumption of how people act, and then from there going like, so obviously this would never work because people behave this way. And my source is the fucking backside of my own ass. Like, man, you're out here like citing the bystander effect. Like that's a real thing. Like, no. That was made up by cops to excuse the fact that they let a person die. I'm not even joking about that, by the way. Bystander effect, literally made up by cops. I believe it was basically the New York Times was like, "Hey, we heard of like this person who died in unusual circumstances. She was in an alley. There was a lot of like, people who should have been able to see her. They should have been able to ask for help, which had more than enough time to like turn up. But it didn't. And so they asked the help who would have been told to turn up, the police. Like, hey, why didn't help arrive? And the police were like, no one called us. No one said anything. No one went out to help because they all assumed someone else would, I guess. And the New York Times was like, oh yeah, that's plausible enough that we'll publish it. Meanwhile, you cut to what actually happened, and it's like, yeah, no, the police just didn't answer the phone. Like, 8 different people called. Like, 8 different people called. One of her neighbors came out to try and stop the bleeding. Several people tried to call ambulances. And, you know, they just didn't turn up. It was a failure of a centralized, like, authority, not of fucking human behavior, not like an essential flaw of human nature. Ugh. I hate the bystander effect. Like, one of the things you have to account for in emergency medicine, or really just any kind of emergency response, is once you have the centralized hotline of like 911 that everyone can call when something goes wrong, people will call 911 when things go wrong, including like 8 different people all at the scene of the same incident. So one of the big issues that you have when it comes to responding to disasters is your phone lines being clogged by 12 people who are just kind of generally nearby and not in immediate danger. And it's like, yeah, no, the person who really needs our help is on hold 12 people back, because like everyone who like saw or heard anything called 911. And that's an incredibly notable problem when it comes to, like, these disaster incidents. And it directly flies in the face of the bystander effect. And both of these things have been, like, around for at least a decade. And we've just kinda not put it together that one or the other should be false. And it's like, yeah, you look at the article that was the, like, cited source for the bystander effect, and it's the police lying to cover up that they didn't help some lady. Like, what the fuck? You'll trust centralized power structures too much. Anyway, that has been today's Daily Peak, where I get really heated about collectivism. I appreciate everyone who turned in. Your viewership is always appreciated. I'll see you guys next time.